Hello, hello, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I'm hoping this is working. I'm going to get a shout from downstairs in a minute if it's not. So just before I start, I just want to dedicate this to Luke because it's 6 years ago today since he died. So here's to you, Luke. Toasting him with Ribena this year. Okay, so what I'm going to do is on the BBC's website, they have lots of stories, memories, and things from people who were in World War One and Two. And in the World War One section, they have a load of letters sent back from the front. So what I've done is I've taken some of those letters and turned them into poems. So there were 6 categories. So I've taken a couple of letters and put them in each category. So rather than do each one at a time, because some of them are quite short, I've just kind of put them all together. But I will point out when they change. So I'm going to minimise this now because I have to read these because I've not memorised these or printed them off. So I shall minimise myself. Okay, I'm gone. I will be in a minute. Okay, now I'm gone. Okay, so the first section is called Volunteering and Recruitment. And there are 2 letters in this one. So I say this is like, 107, whatever it is, years ago these were written. So, volunteering and recruitment. I felt restless, excited, eager to do something desperate for the cause of England. And then the impulse came, sending the blood tingling all over my body. Why not join the army now? A great and glorious suggestion. It might not be too late. Girls smiled at me. Men looked at me with respect. The bus drivers wished me luck and refused to take money for my fare. And everybody made way for me as being on the King's business. Letter 2. That afternoon, I decided to join the Liverpool Scottish. What sights I saw on my way up Fraser Street. A queue of men over 2 miles long in the Haymarket. The recruiting office took over a week to pass in all those thousands. All at the Liverpool Scottish HQ, things seemed hopeless. In fact, I was giving up hopes of ever getting in when I saw Renison, an officer of the battalion, and he invited me into the mess, thus getting me in front of hundreds of others. I counted myself in luck to secure the last kilt, which, although very old and dirty, I carried away to tog myself in. There's your first 2. I did look this up, by the way, and I assume tog myself in must be a description for how you put a kilt on. I couldn't find anything about it, but I guess so. So yeah, 2 letters from brave lads signing up. Okay, have a swig. So the next section is trench life. So there are 5 letters in this one, because some of them are quite short. So yeah, these are all the things people sent back from the front about trench life. First one. If you're nearly frozen, they keep quiet. As soon as you warm up, those blasted lice start to bite like the devil himself. It is horrible. I often think it is one of the worst things we have to endure out here. Letter 2. There are millions. Some are huge fellows, nearly as big as cats. Several of our men were awakened to find a rat snuggling down under the blanket alongside them. Letter 3. Getting along a trench is not as easy as you think. For one thing, it is not straight for more than 4 yards. Then there are all sorts of odd off-turns to officers' dugouts, off to other lines of trenches. At other places, there are steps down and other unknown steps up where a piece of parapet was blown in or some walls of a traverse have collapsed. In these mazes where we have fought each other so often and each side has held the ground in turn, you can never be quite sure whether a trench won't lead you straight to the German lines. Letter 4. Imagine A vast semicircle of lights, a cross between the lights of the embankment and the lights of the fleet far out at sea. Only, instead of fixed yellow lamps, they are powerful white flares sailing up every minute and burning for 20 or 30 seconds, and then fizzling out like a rocket. Each one visible at 10 miles distant, and each lighting up every man, tree and bush within half a mile. Besides these, you will see the slim shaft of a searchlight swinging round and round among the stars, hunting an invisible aeroplane. And every instant flashes in the sky like the opening of a furnace door, and there is a clap of thunder from the unseen heavy guns. The whole makes a magnificent panorama on a clear night. Letter 5. I'm a great believer in my star. If I were going to be killed, I'd have been killed long ago. Walking about the trenches all day long, hand in hand with death. One cannot help but become a fatalist. Thank you. There's those. I love his description of the lights, because when you see it in films and everything's so stark when the flares go up. And as a little aside, the one about the trenches, he actually went into a heck of a lot of detail on that, but I shrunk it down to fit this. But one of the things he pointed out was that at some point they were actually marching down a trench, and it turns out it did connect to the German trenches, and all of a sudden there were the Germans. Yeah, stuff you don't know about life in the trenches. Okay, number 3. So, this one has a name. I forgot to say this. Unfortunately, for some reason, the majority of these didn't have a name of who wrote them, which I normally like to say who wrote them, but I guess basically these are all from unknown soldiers. Except this one, which is from somebody called Private Hudson. No more details about him, it just says from Private Hudson. So, yeah, cheers, Private Hudson. It's called Over the Top. It is utterly impossible to describe one's feelings during the hours of waiting for 0 hour. The mind is full of wild thoughts and fancies which are utterly beyond control. Recollections of friends and dear ones, places we have seen and known, and different phases of life all seem to pass in review before one's eyes. Then one is recalled to the bitter realities of the moment by the officer's voice. 15 minutes to go, boys! Get ready! Immediately there is a great stir and excitement. A final settling of equipment, an examination of arms, and then a handshake with 1 or 2 dear comrades. 6:45. Over you go, boys! And we are away on that strange journey across no man's land. Over the Top. Very much reminds me of the end of Blackadder. But yeah, what thoughts must go through your head in those moments. Okay, another drink, and then the next section. So this only has 1 letter in it. It's quite a long one, this. Somebody describing the thing. So this is called Night Patrol. I really sometimes wonder if I am a coward, for I do not like patrolling. We have lost 3 officers on this business in front of my trenches. Let me try to picture what it is like. I am asked to take out an officer's patrol. 7 men whose duties are get out to the position of the listening post, wait for their patrol and scupper it. Also, discover the work being done upon their trenches. I choose my favourite corporal and 6 most intelligent and brave men. We warn the sentries that we are going out, so we shan't be fired upon by our own. Magazines full, 1 round in the breech, and bayonets are tested so they slip out of the scabbard silently. My revolver is nicely oiled, and all spare equipment and parts are left behind. Everything is ready. As soon as dusk is sufficiently dark, we climb over the parapet and tumble over as rapidly as possible so as not to be a silhouette against the last traces of sunset. No man feels afraid, for we have grown accustomed to this thing by now. but every man knows he has probably seen his last sunset, for this is the most dangerous thing in war. Out we walk into the barbed wire entanglement zone through which the enemy must climb, but we have a path, a 30-yard zigzag of prickly unpleasantness. The night has become horribly dark, and the stillness broken only by the croaking of many frogs, the hoot of an owl, and the distant boom of the guns in the south. The adventure has commenced. I arrange my men in pairs within whispering distance, and we advance slowly and carefully, wriggling through the long grass for 100 yards or so, past the 2 lines of willow trees, across the stream, and there we lie and wait and listen. And so we lie in absolute silence, like spiders waiting for flies. It is a weary game and trying to one's nerves, every sense strained to the utmost. Tiny noises are magnified 100-fold. A rat nibbling at the growing corn, a rabbit scuttling along gives us the jumps, until we learn to differentiate the sounds. In the German trenches, we hear the faint hum of conversation. Nothing near us, but there is a very ominous sign. No shots are being fired from the trenches up front, no flares being sent up, and there is no working party about. This points to only one thing. They also have a patrol out. There is no other conclusion. Suddenly, quite close to the corporal and I, there is a heavy rustling in the long grass to the right. My heart thumps so heavily they must surely hear it, and my face is covered in cold perspiration. My revolver hammer goes back with a sharp click. My hand trembles. I have no inclination to run away, quite the reverse. But I have one solitary thought. I am going to kill a man. This I repeat over and over, and the thought makes me miserable, as at the same time joyful, for at least I shall have accounted for one of the blackguards, even if I go myself. But do they know we are here? How many are there? Are they armed with bombs like most German patrols? However, our queries remain unanswered, for quite abruptly they change direction and make off to the right, where to follow them would only court disaster. So with great caution, we come in and breathe again when we are safely inside the trench. I give instructions to the sentries to fire low down into the grass, but it is very improbable the German patrol will get anything other than a fright. Addendum. A Bedford patrol went out another time and crawled very bravely to the same spot. They stayed a long time and listened, and when they were just about to crawl back, a voice from the German trenches called out, in perfect English, "If you don't go away soon, we shall really have to shoot you." They went. Yeah, I love his descriptions and I like that ending. They think they're out there spying on them and they knew they were there all the time. Very gentlemanly not to shoot them as well. Okay, next section. Okay. You may have noticed Lilith has joined me for this. I think she has an interest in World War One. Okay, this has just one letter in it again. This is, it's very unpleasant, but still. This is a thing called gas attack. Don't forget, this is World War One when they did nasty things like that. Gas attack. Propped up against a wall, a dozen men, all gassed. Their colours were black, green and blue, tongues hanging out and eyes staring. One or two were dead, the others beyond human aid. Some were coughing up green froth from their lungs, and as we advanced past, many more men were lying in ditches and gutterways. Shells were bursting all around. My respirator fell to pieces with the continual removal and readjustment. The gas closed my eyes and filled them with matter, and I could not see. I was left lying in the trench with one other gassed man and various wounded beings and corpses, and forced to lie there and spit and cough and gasp the whole of the day in that trench. See, although our road was only slightly sunken, it lay at the foot of a gentle slope and thus acted as a trap for the gas. Our colonel and medical officer had both been affected, and during the morning they were carried away on stretchers. The rest of us stayed out there all day, coughing and retching and gradually going blind. Next day, with a label hung on each of us and equipped with nothing but our tin hats and gas masks, we groped our way outside, our quartermaster sergeant leading the way, each of us hanging on to the tail of the jacket of the man in front. Our eyes now began to irritate. All and sundry commenced to vomit. I heard several men complain about the pain in their eyes. Some even complained about going blind. And one by one, these fellows made their way to the first aid dressing station. The stream of men increased. Those who could see led the way, while others formed a queue behind, each placing his hand on the shoulders of his predecessor for guidance. The symptoms were as follows: blindness, deafness, loss of voice, inability to swallow, weakness, high fever, burns on exposed and delicate parts of the anatomy, choking cough, and difficulty breathing. By the afternoon, the faces of our lads who lay in the open changed colour and presented a gruesome spectacle. Their faces and hands gradually assumed a blue and green colour, and their buttons and metal fittings were all discoloured. Many lay there with their legs drawn up, clutching their throats. Blimey. Never really seen a description of a gas attack before. Horrendous stuff. I mean, we knew it's horrendous anyway, but... presumably, though, he sent that letter home, so I guess at least he survived somehow. That unknown soldier. I can't believe she's washing a bone. Sorry. Righty. Oh, last category. So, there's 3 in this one. Excuse me. So there's 3 letters in this one. And, oh yes, I also get to quote Lawrence Binion's For the Fallen in this one. Hooray. So the category of this is injury, death, and remembering. First one. On the night of the 9th, at midnight, the wounded poured in. It was simply ghastly. Most of them were head cases, for our hospital did specialise there. They were all operated on, and the MOs never stopped day or night for 4 or 5 days. It's terrible to see them wounded in the head. Numbers of them became paralysed, and quite a number were minus arms, or legs, or eyes. For the first few days they were quite silly, lost their reason, and some were speechless. Oh, it was ghastly, and so very busy. We just went on and on, doing dressings with no hope of finishing. The doctors and padres were awfully good in the wards, talking to the men, bringing them drink and so forth. I don't know what we would have done sometimes without them. Crowds died, of course, and 80 were down on the dangerously ill list. We worked hard in the daytime, and oh, the nights, they were terrible. Matron put 10 of us out to sleep in 2 large marquees. We didn't like it, of course, but we had to pick up our camp beds and get into them like lambs. Letter 2. I saw a fellow get a lovely wound to the head with a bit of shrapnel. He was so pleased, he made me laugh. A man who could smile and laugh in the face of adversity and in the presence of death was a man of incalculable worth. The morale of the army was kept up by those who smiled. Letter 3. When I go back there, I feel I am on consecrated ground. That ground has been trod by all those lovely lads who never came back. And I think of that poem. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. I think it's marvellous, because that's just how it is. You imagine them as they were then, not as they would be now. Young and in their prime, and never grown old. Thank you. I have another poem to do, but that was the last one of those. I like that started with them joining up and then finished with them coming back home. Yeah, so that's the last one of those. Now I'm going to finish on one of my own, partly because why not? It's my show. But also because while I was writing the previous ones, I realised that this poem that I wrote years ago, a heck of a lot of things that were mentioned in that were actually in my own poem. So I thought I'd finish with this, partly because it sums up why I'm doing it, and my thoughts, I guess. So this is called Those Who Died. I'll never know what debt I owe to those who died. My muddy fields come with Wellingtons and a Portaloo, not rats and lice and corpses. Rain for me doesn't mask the sound of the enemy, it just makes me wet. Misty days will never be mistaken for a gas attack. Lights at night are a welcome sight, not a sign of imminent invasion. And if I go over the top, I'm just being silly, not charging screaming tracer rounds. I can nip to the shop for a loaf of bread, not steal a crust out of a dead man's hand. I can write poems on a computer screen because one day once, someone was braver than I. I've never seen a friend scream and die in blood-spewing agony. And then another, and then another, and then another. I'll honour and remember as best I can, but I'll never really know what debt I owe to those who died. Thank you. That's the last one. That's me done. Thank you for anybody that tuned in. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope I did them justice. And for 10 minutes, I brought a load of young, brave soldiers back alive for 10 minutes. So I'm going to end on that. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you anon. Thank you.